Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us here. It is great to be here today. It's a very special day for us on Long Island, and we're proud to welcome once again to our region our great Governor, Andrew Cuomo. We also have a number of other special guests with us here today, and I want to acknowledge them as well. Of course, you heard introduced, and he'll be speaking in a few moments as well. Our Senate Majority Leader, Senator John Flanagan. We're also joined by his colleagues in the Senate, Senator Kemp Hannan, Senator Carl Marcellino, and Senator John Brooks. A number of my colleagues here on the local level. Want to introduce first and foremost my partner on many issues here on Long Island, our Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano. A number of our colleagues at the town level, our newest town supervisor, Town of Oyster Bay Supervisor, Joe Saladino. From the town of Smithtown Town Supervisor Pat Vecchio. Huntington Supervisor Frank Patrone. Brookhaven Supervisor Ed Romaine. From the village of Rockville Center, our Mayor Francis Murray. Our Deputy Mayor, Nancy Howard. Nassau County Comptroller, George Maragos. Nassau County Legislator, Steve Rhodes. From the Town of Oyster Bay Town Council, Lou Imbrolo. And Oyster Bay Town Clerk, James Altadonna. Thank you and welcome to all. Thank you all for coming out here today. Over the past 6 years, the governor has fought to improve the quality of life for communities across our state. And he continues to deliver for Long Island, making transformative investments that are fundamentally changing the trajectory of our region. The governor is tackling some of the most pressing issues that we face today, from delivering comprehensive criminal justice reform to making college affordable for our middle-class families and cutting taxes to record lows. The governor doesn't just talk the talk, he gets the job done. And this year's budget, I think, is proof positive of that. As many of you know, one of the most important issues that we face in this state and in our country is the issue of water quality. It's the top priority for my administration here in Suffolk County. I know it's a top priority in Nassau County as well. And over the past few years, we have been very fortunate that the governor has focused like a laser on the issue of water quality across the state, but particularly here on Long Island, making record investments and taking a series of aggressive actions to protect both the public health and our environment. And as someone who has worked to champion this issue in our county and understands the importance of water quality to our future, I'm incredibly grateful for the governor's leadership. And here to tell us what is in store for all of us here on Long Island coming up, I'm very proud to welcome and introduce the 56th governor of the state of New York, our great friend, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be back. It's always a pleasure to be on Long Island. And it's always a pleasure to be with County Executive Steve Bellone, who's doing a great job. Let's give him a big round of applause. And County Executive Ed Mangano, pleasure to be with you, Ed. We have my colleagues from Albany, the Assembly and the Senate, but you're going to hear from Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan. Pleasure to be with you, Senator Flanagan. And Assemblyman Engelbright, who is chair of the Environmental Committee. Pleasure to be with you. We have just finished the state budget. This was, first of all, the budget is more than just a budget. It sounds like just a budget. It's just a sheet of numbers. It should be relatively easy. But the state budget is actually an operating plan for the entire state for the entire year. And when you go through the state budget process, it's about $152 billion, and you have to decide where you spend $152 billion and how you spend $152 billion. Surprise it or not, sometimes there's a difference of opinion between the Assembly and the Senate and the Executive. You know, they're wrong a lot, and it's my position to have to deal with them. But we went through probably one of the more difficult processes this year. It was a difficult birth, but it was actually a beautiful baby once it was born. And I think of all the budgets and of all the plans we've done, this is probably the most ambitious and does the most work for the people of the state of New York, and I'm very, very proud of it. There are a lot of issues that we need to address, and that's one of the reasons why the budget was more difficult this year, because if you want to be responsible and you want to attack the problems, there are problems everywhere you turn, it seems, nowadays. And that's what went on with the budget. But when you look at the result of the budget, we are very, very proud of what we did. You see more funding for education than ever before in the history of the state of New York, which we're very proud of. We do more for affordable housing than ever before. We reform workers' comp, which is so important because it's such a burden on local businesses. It's the largest funding for transportation and infrastructure in the state's history. So we can have a Long Island Railroad that you can actually take and you can get to a Penn Station and it doesn't seem like you're visiting the catacombs when you get to Penn Station, you know. So we're very, very proud of all the work it does. And it has an historic water quality initiative, which is what we're here to talk about today. And I want to thank Senator Flanagan. I want to thank his colleagues. I want to thank the entire Long Island delegation that was instrumental in putting together this water quality initiative. It's $2.5 billion. That is a lot of funding. Especially during these times, but it's that important an issue. And it is probably no more sensitive than on Long Island, where the problem has been developing. We've seen it been developing. County Executive Bellone and County Executive Mangano have been very aggressive, and they've been on top of it. The state has been their partner all along. But Senator Flanagan and Assemblyman Engelbright and the delegation said, we want to do more than just play catch up. Let's come up with a comprehensive solution that actually makes a meaningful difference for generations to come. And I want to thank them for that. Let's give a round of applause to Senator Flanagan and to Assemblyman Engelbright. One of the other things that you'll see in this budget is it also controls spending, which is important. Taxes in New York State are one of the great problems that we face. You look at young people who are leaving New York, look at businesses who are leaving New York, they'll all say the same thing, which is they just can't afford the taxes anymore. People are mobile, businesses are mobile, and when taxes get to a certain point, people and businesses will leave. And it's that simple. Controlling taxes is a simple formula. You want to control taxes, you have to control spending. You want to reduce taxes, you have to reduce spending. So the formula is simple. Formula for losing weight is simple. You want to lose weight, take in fewer calories, burn more, and you will lose weight. You know, the formula is simple. It's the implementation that winds up problematic. It's the same with government. So this budget actually cuts taxes once again because it has one of the lowest increases in state spending in history, believe it or not. A 2% spending increase, which is why we can reduce taxes, and we're going to do a middle-class tax cut to the lowest rate in over 70 years for the middle class. And within that are all these major initiatives I talked about. On water quality, the quality of the water, our water is increasingly under threat. This is not just in New York, it is all across the nation. Other states are coming to grips with it, but it's especially a problem here on Long Island. First of all, the water infrastructure is old. It's like all of our infrastructure. We're living off the legacy, not of our parents, but of our grandparents. Ask yourself, when we undertook a big transportation project, we built a road, we built a tunnel, we built a new water system. We don't do it. We've been living off our legacy. And our legacy is now old and needs repair. You see it all across the country where you have breakdowns from the consequences of an old system. New York State, 25% of our 610 sewage treatment plants are beyond their useful life. And we have new threats that we are just discovering. We know that we had a history in manufacturing and industry, and we know that the manufacturing industry left a residue in the ground, but we're finding now more and more new chemicals that we've never tested for before that are potentially dangerous. Or we're finding chemicals that are potentially dangerous for which the federal government hasn't yet set an allowable consumption rate. And this is going to be getting worse over time. EPA, frankly, in my opinion, we've sent them a number of correspondence that say they're not being responsive enough to these new discoveries. New chemicals that we believe are dangerous, but they won't tell us by their testing what % is allowable. And this is continuing to evolve. It's especially urgent on Long Island because of the geography of Long Island. It's all sand. And sand, everything that is spilled, all the rain, all the groundwater goes right through the sand, and it accumulates. And it accumulates in the sole aquifer, which is Long Island. And there it sits. So Long Island poses particular threats statewide. We also have 99 Superfund sites that are being remediated on Long Island. So we have that as an added pressure. We also have the Northrop Grumman facility in Bethpage that we know dumped toxic chemicals into the groundwater over an extended period of time. We know they are in the groundwater. And I want to thank Joe Saladino for his great work in staying on this issue, because it is a serious issue that needs attention. Same with Gabreski Air National Guard Base. We know that they used foam that had PFOS in the foam, and we know that PFOS is still in the ground. We have 85 old landfills that were done before the modern requirements. And they are no longer operational, but they are landfills that are now leaching into the groundwater. We have inadequate sewer service infrastructure all across the island, and we have old septic and cesspools that leak nitrogen and pollutants. You also have saltwater intrusion into the groundwater, which is another complicating factor. And this is not just a challenge for us. This is a challenge that if we don't solve it, we are going to pass it on to our children. So the New York way is not to pass the buck and not to deny the problem. The New York way is to stand up and rise to the challenge, and that's what we're going to do with a comprehensive, multifaceted action plan. And we're going to focus on Long Island and Long Island's unique challenges. Now, we're not new to the problem. As I mentioned, the county executives have been working on it. We've been working in partnership. We've been spending a lot of money in partnership with the county, but we're now going to take it to the next level. We're going to accelerate our plan for the Navy Northrop Grumman site, and we want a plan that has full remediation and containment of that plume. We know the plume is dangerous. We know the plume is moving. We know there is nothing at this point that's going to stop the plume from interfering with water systems. We need a plan to stop the plume, and we want to fund it from this $2.5 billion. At Gabreski, we have the same basic problem. We are taking the homes that are near the site and we're putting them on municipal water systems, taking the private wells and putting them on municipal water systems, and coming up with a remediation plan. Same thing on the inactive landfills. We are investigating them to see if they are leaching into the groundwater. If they are, we'll need to remediate those landfills. County Executive Bellone has a very ambitious program for sewering in Suffolk. We've invested $380 million, which will connect 10,000 homes to sanitary sewer systems. In Nassau County, we have the Bay Park Treatment Facility, which has been polluting the bays for years and years. We've talked about it. We've done nothing. County Executive Mangano has stepped up to the plate and taken aggressive action. We have a novel plan that we're working on that would actually connect the Bay Park to the Cedar Creek plant and would treat the waste that way. It would be about a $250 million plan, which is still expensive, but it would be a fraction of what it would be to correct the Bay Park plant by any other methodology. And it would make a significant difference to the quality of our bays. So we want to thank County Executive Mangano for that. In August, we announced our plan to fight the federal designation of a new permanent disposal site for open water dumping. They went ahead and the EPA approved that ocean dumping. Today we're announcing that we're going to file a suit against the EPA and we're going to challenge their ruling next month because it was destructive to Long Island. And this state budget doubles our commitment going forward, $2.5 billion, which again was a bipartisan, nonpartisan program that we put together. And I want to thank my colleagues. It's a landmark investment in our water infrastructure. It focuses on community-driven solutions and local government. This is not Albany telling communities what they should do. It's communities saying, this is where we need help. Please partner with us, and we will invest with those communities. It'll have, as I mentioned, significant impact on Long Island. It creates a $75 million rebate program to give homeowners and small businesses an incentive to replace aging septic. DEC, and we have Commissioner Basil Sagos here with us today, the DEC Commissioner. I'd like to thank him. Will identify priority areas working with the county where septic is especially a problem, And this program will fund up to $10,000 for a homeowner or a business to upgrade their own septic system and provide that incentive for them to do that. Starting today, municipalities can submit grant applications to improve their drinking water and wastewater infrastructure in any way that they need that improvement. If it's new pipes, if it's a new treatment facility, a new pumping station, whatever it is, we'll partner with that. We also have in this budget 2 local sewer systems in Suffolk, $40 million to build a new sewer treatment in Smithtown and in Kings Park. So congratulations on that, because those are 2 necessary projects. This year's budget requires that water systems now test for unregulated contaminants like 1,4-dioxane, which is one of these new chemicals that we now know can be dangerous. The federal government has not set a level for 1,4-dioxane, so they put a state and a community in a very bad position. This could be a dangerous chemical, but we don't know what the allowable percentage or presence or concentration of that chemical is. We have said to them on 1,4-dioxane, we'll give the EPA 2 months to set a level for 1,4-dioxane. If they don't set a level for 1,4-dioxane, we'll put together a team of experts and we'll establish that level ourselves, but we're not going to allow our people to continue drinking water that may be dangerous. And I hope the EPA acts. If they don't, we'll put together a Drinking Water Council to do it ourselves. The Environmental Protection Fund will have $7.5 million to protect Long Island's water quality, including $2 million for the Pine Barrens to protect drinking water at its source, $900,000 to protect the Long Island South Shore Estuary Reserve, $3 million for Suffolk County and Stony Brook Center for Clean Water Technology to develop advanced septic treatment technologies to reduce nitrogen pollution, because that's what we have to stop. We have to stop the nitrogen from entering into our bodies of water. Also, $5 million for Stony Brook's University Center for Clean Water Technology to develop new treatment technologies. That will include an advanced oxidative process treatment to remove 1,4-dioxane from the water supply. Not only has the EPA not set a level for 1,4-dioxane, currently there is no filtration system proven to take 1,4-dioxane out of water, and Stony Brook is working on a system and a technology with Suffolk County which will do just that, so we're excited about it. We are also undertaking a $6 million study of Long Island's groundwater with USGS to drill wells and analyze the water chemistry, because we have to stop the saltwater intrusion into our groundwater. And this will be a study to find a way to do just that. So when you look at the Environmental Protection Fund and the Drinking Quality Fund, you will see literally all across the island, the state is making the most significant investment it ever has. It's the most multifaceted. I also think it's the wisest. It is a historic level of investment, and I'm going to sign the bill in just a moment that is going to make that a law, and we'll start this new program. But it's who we are, and it's what we do. Protecting the environment has always been a central mandate of this state. We have the most aggressive environmental policies of any state in the United States of America today, and I'm proud of it. We have the highest renewable standard in the country, and you take issues like water quality, we are no doubt leading the way, and we're raising the bar, and we're dealing with the issues that other states have allowed just to stand by for too long. We're showing the nation how to lead on an issue that is going to determine not just our future, but the future for generations to come. And when it comes to the environment, there's an old Native American proverb that says it all to me. We do not inherit the earth from our parents. We are borrowing it from our children. And as a citizen, as a parent, as a person who's been put on this earth, we all have one responsibility. And every religion and every philosopher comes back to the same point. Leave the place better than you found it. God gave you a time on earth. Use your time to make this place a better place. For those of us in public service, government is the vehicle to make this place a better place. But our charge is to leave it better for our children than we found it, to leave it safer, to leave it cleaner, to leave it healthier. And when we leave it, we're going to leave them a Long Island that is safer and cleaner than ever before, and we're going to make sure the environment is cleaner than the earth and the Long Island that we inherited. Thank you, and God bless you.
You know what? Let's talk about this venue first. And by the way, I don't know what makes the governor more nervous, the fact that I'm allowed to speak. What really makes him nervous is when I speak after him. So I want to thank him for being infallible in spite of the fact that we make mistakes in the legislature. But you know, here we are really within a beautiful New York State park system. This is a fabulous revenue generator. It's an environmentally friendly area, and this is a place we all should be proud of. Now, a lot of us have been here for events, and I just found out that something that the governor and I have in common. Well, I certainly have a bunch of bad habits. I can't speak for him. Neither one of us plays golf. So if you see both of us playing golf, that's a bad sign, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we're joined by so many wonderful people from our communities. I want to thank the commissioner for being here. He and the governor were traveling around the state. And I do want to highlight some of our colleagues who are here. We have 3 of my colleagues from the New York State Senate. And I want to speak to Senator Marcellino. And a lot of people in this room, people like Kevin Law, Mitch Pally, they know Carl's work. People forget he was the chair of the ENCON committee for a number of years in the New York State Senate. And that is not an easy job. Balancing the equities and the interests, it is not easy. You can imagine how scintillating it is to go to a cocktail party when Senator Marcellino is there and he wants to regale you about brownfields. You know, 99 Superfund sites, that's real. That is real. But Carl did yeoman-like work, was really one of the initial architects of the Environmental Protection Fund, and has fought very hard on behalf of his community and, frankly, for all of New York State. Dovetail that on the pictures that the governor was showing vis-a-vis education. We're borrowing it from our children. He's chair of the Senate Education Committee, doing fantastic work for schools here on Long Island. And let's be clear, between STAR and Aid to Education, we now have over $29 billion of taxpayer money that's being reinvested in our local schools. So Carl, I really want to thank him. And I also want to thank Senator Hannan. Senator Hannan, you all know, is a fabulous chair of the Health Committee, has developed an expertise that is perhaps second to none, certainly in the legislature. But his work, along with Tom O'Mara, who now chairs the Environmental Conservation Committee, in concert with the Assembly and the Executive, they did hearings all across the state. And they were very well received. And believe it or not, they did a report which was also extremely well received by all sectors of this issue. So I really want to thank Kemp. I know we have the Drinking Water Quality Council. We now have the Emerging Contaminant Protection Act. See all these things I get to learn in this job? But Kemp has really done a fantastic job. And you know, the governor made a number of salient points. He talked about $2.5 billion in investment. You know, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, if somebody said, we're going to pop $2 billion or $2.5 billion in, people would go, whoa, whoa, easy there, cowboy. That's a lot of money. The debate this year not only started with the governor's $2 billion, which we built on, but there was a whole hearty discussion about a bond act and $5 billion. And the commissioner from DEC can tell us, and we've seen this, $5 billion is real solid money. $2.5 billion is very important. And yet the size of the problem, probably 50, 60, 70, $80 billion if you look all around the state. So we're doing the work that's very important. Now, I also want to thank my colleague, Assemblyman Engelbright. Steve and I have overlapped in our communities for a very long period of time. We enjoy an excellent working relationship. And I believe, I just checked with the Secretary of State, Steve has filed a new business. He's opening as a geologist, the only one in the legislature. Anybody who needs help with their septic application through the county or the state, he's trying to pick up a few shekels on the side. So Steve just here to help. Cheap advertising on behalf. But I want to touch on one other person. There are a lot of people in this room, and I have always had great respect for this person. He served under Governor Cuomo in the regional DEC office, and he now is with the county. He's one of the finest public servants I know, and I think Long Island was extraordinarily well served, and the governor was in particular. Being the DEC director here on Long Island is one tough job. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Scully. So about in the first year of getting married, I had to spend $1,000, which at that point was like, you might as well break my arm and break my back. And it wasn't for a bay window. Something cool like a bench seat. You can say, this is an Anderson window, it looks great. It was for a drywall. It's basically for putting a cesspool on my property. Nobody really wants to have to do it, but you have to. And when we look at these investments, I'm elated that we're here today. I'm very happy to have worked with the governor because he took this, jumped on it, worked very closely with us, and came up with a product that we can all be proud of. And here we're talking about $75 million for a rebate program. Suffolk County deserves credit for setting up their own program. These are the kind of events that people want to come to. The governor and I are going to another event later today that deals with violence, gang violence. This is the kind of thing that people want to embrace. The other stuff we absolutely have to do. But in terms of our work, it's going to be a fantastic investment for people all across the state of New York. And it happens with cooperation, whether it's our supervisors, our county, our environmental community, our not-for-profits. When we actually listen to people, we come up generally with a good product. So I am very grateful to be here today. I want to thank all of you. I particularly want to thank the governor. These are things that will have a very lasting impact in a terrifically good way. Thank you.
My name's Steve Englebright. I'm privileged to be here representing the Assembly, joining with my colleagues in government and all of the citizens of the communities of this great island to say thank you to all who've made this possible, starting with our governor. You put this in your proposed budget at a $2 billion number, and your door was open as we said, can we do more? And you said, show me how. And working with Kim Hannon and Senator Flanagan, we brought you a justification for moving to where we are now at $2.5 billion. What an enormous contribution to the future of our state, and most particularly the coastal plain portion of our state. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your vision. I mentioned Kemp Hannon. I want to elaborate on that just a little bit. Kemp, working with you, made this possible because the ideas that we generated together and with our staffs is what we brought to the commissioner and ultimately to the governor. And you made it possible. Thank you so very much. The Clean Water Infrastructure Act is a down payment on our future. The governor has already indicated that there's much more to be done. The senator has already indicated in beginning to quantify how much we need to do. The minimum number is about $80 billion. And yes, I think we do need to go beyond this. This is not the end of our efforts to protect our drinking water. This is a good down payment on making sure that we have the $80 to $100 billion. And we're going to have to bring this issue to our populace at some point. But Governor, you've helped give us a compass direction. And That's what this is, and we'll get started. They say that the hardest part of anything is getting started. So thank you for helping us to find our compass direction and to start our journey. This program has great specificity built into it also as a consequence of the negotiations that I've already mentioned. Let me just mention some of the items that are in there. For one thing, the $110 million for land acquisition for source water areas is critical. You can't have a water program that only relies upon pipes, that only relies upon engineering marvels. You need that too. In fact, that's the most costly part, but the longest lasting and most important part of the water cycle is the part where the rain falls from the sky and lands on the land, and you harvest that water and utilize it. You built that into the Infrastructure Act, and it's so very important. Here on Long Island, we have $75 million for upgrades and replacements of septic systems and cesspools, $130 million for mitigation and remediation of contaminated drinking water, $1 billion for general purposes related to water infrastructure, $245 million for water quality improvement projects, $150 million for intermunicipal water grant programs. The governor mentioned the importance of working through our local governments, $20 million for replacement of lead drinking water service lines, $10 million for a water infrastructure emergency loan fund so that we can act quickly when it's necessary. I want to say thank you also to my speaker, Speaker Carl Hastie, who enabled me to enter into these conversations and stood behind our entire conference. I also want to say thank you to my supervisor, Ed Romaine, who's here. Ed, you and I began this when we were county legislators. We were elected on the same day in early Jurassic time, and we've been working on this in a collaborative sense ever since. And it is an across-the-aisle initiative. This is nonpartisan. This is the stuff of what we base our optimism for the future on. So thank you to all. A particular thanks to you again, once again, Governor Cuomo.
So this is a great day for Long Island. Thank you again to our Senate Majority Leader, Senator Flanagan, Assemblyman Engelbright, and everyone here who's been a great partner on the water quality issue, but most importantly to our governor. And why don't we make this official, Governor? Can you come up here and sign the bill?